I'm dreaming of a, well, Christmas where I don't have to shovel. That would be nice. Hello everyone, I'm Sarah from Everyday Starlet. Welcome to my channel. I make videos to inspire you to be the star of your own life. I'm doing another edition of my masculine feminine energies film breakdowns with a holiday classic, White Christmas. This is actually one of my favorite Christmas movies. I mean, it mixes the Hollywood glamour of a Technicolor musical with the beauty of Christmas. And they put it in Vermont, which I gotta be honest with you, I'm in New England and there's not a lot of glamour going on around here. Well, except here. So the fact that they make New England look glamorous, I give them props for that. So I'm gonna break down this film talking about it from the perspective of masculine and feminine energies. If you're not familiar with what I mean by that, I have a ton of videos where I talk about that. But just to break it down, masculine and feminine energies are energies that live within all of us. We all contain both of them. We all have a core energy. That's an energy that we feel are most ourselves in. And that's the energy that ideally we are in the most. But we can tap into the opposite energy whenever we need to. We can also be in healed and unhealed versions of both of those energies. And all of those energies also have archetypes within them that we can tap into whenever we need to. So let's take a look at White Christmas. White Christmas takes a look at Bob and Phil. In this movie, Bob and Phil are a singing duo and they end up meeting up with Betty and Judy, who are a sister act, and they get together to perform a big holiday show in Vermont. Now, Bob in this film, who's played by Bing Crosby, is pretty much the quintessential masculine energy. He's very focused, he's very driven, he has a purpose. His purpose is to entertain people, and he runs his life, his show, his performances like a business. He is very focused on work, and that is his main focus. All important masculine energy traits. Masculine energy is about being driven. It's about having a purpose that is greater than yourself. Now, Phil is much more fun-loving. He wants to enjoy life. He's more playful. He's more fun. He doesn't take things too seriously. He's really much more of a feminine energy in this. I don't know if that's really his core energy. It's hard to really know because they don't delve too deep into any of these characters. This movie is really just meant to be fun. But again, Phil is playful, flowing with life, loving life, so he's much more in his feminine energy. Those are all traits of feminine energy. Now, Phil gets frustrated because he thinks that Bob is just pushing him too hard, he's taking things too seriously, and Phil decides that Bob needs a woman in his life so that Bob will have some time to focus on a relationship and not basically ride Phil so much to keep working so hard. So really, Phil just wants a break, and so he's trying to set Bob up with a woman, any woman at this point, just so that he can get a break from work. Which is, well, that's kind of manipulative if you think about it. But it's all done in fun.
Ever since the day we became producers, you were a changed man. You've gone absolutely berserk with work. And the strange thing is you liked it. You liked being Rodgers and Hammerstein.
Well, it was your idea, you know.
Well, sure it was my idea, but I didn't think I was going to create a Frankenstein. From that day on, I haven't had 1 minute I could call my own.
What do you want me to do about it?
I want you to get married.
So when Bob and Phil meet Betty and Judy, Bob is very attracted to Betty right away. And Phil notices this, and Phil makes it his mission to try to get Bob and Betty together. Betty is much more hesitant. Betty clearly has a shield up. She's very protective of her younger sister Judy. They always refer to her as feeling like the mother hen. She is very protective. She's very serious. She's not someone to just really let her guard down to just anybody. So she puts up a pretty serious wall from the very beginning, and that turns Bob off, which in reality, a man who is so embodied in his masculine energy is going to be put off by a woman who is very shielded and guarded. Doesn't necessarily mean that he might not still pursue her, but men who are very much in their masculine are going to want a woman who's in their feminine, because masculine and feminine energies attract each other. That's what creates polarity in a relationship. So if you watch this film and you notice every time Betty puts her shield up, they tend to repel. And when Betty lets her shield down and starts to soften, that's when they seem to come together. Now, one of the problems in this film is that when Betty does start to let her guard down and she really starts to feel a connection with Bob, she tends to slip into some wounded maiden energy, which I actually talk more about the feminine archetypes in my Legally Blonde video and also in my Sex and the City review. My Sex and the City review, I talk a little bit more about the wounded maiden. That's a very Starlet character, if you're familiar with that show. The wounded maiden tends to idealize people. They tend to look for a a man to rescue them, the handsome prince to come, or the savior of some kind. And Betty even alludes to that in this film, that she starts to see Bob as this white knight up on the horse. And Bob actually even admits to her at one point that that's a pretty intimidating place to be.
Do you mind if I say something just for the record?
Oh, of course not.
I think what you're doing for the General is one of the most decent, unselfish things I've ever heard of.
No angle?
No angle. I want to apologize for the way I sounded in Florida. I guess I've always been kind of a silly schoolgirl. You know the bit, the Lady Fair and the Knight on the White Horse.
Let me tell you something. It's kind of dangerous putting those knights up on white horses. Likely to slip off, you know.
I think mine's there to stay.
That's sure good to know. Makes a fella feel a little shaky, though, up there all alone on one of those bleached chargers.
You worried?
Kinda.
I mean, because this is a movie and it's an exaggerated movie, it's a musical, they say these things out loud, but these are actually things that I think a lot of people end up thinking. When you get somebody who's a wounded maiden, which, not gonna lie, I'm healing my maiden energy, so I relate to this. When you put a man up on a pedestal like that, he can sometimes feel shaky, and we're all human and we all have imperfections. And so Bob even admits that he feels a little bit nervous. And I think even when men don't admit it, many men feel like when women put them up on this pedestal, which is why it's dangerous to put men up on pedestals, because, well, they fall. We all fall. If you put someone up on a pedestal too high, they fall. And I think in this film, Bob actually admits that. He says, look, this makes me nervous, being up on a pedestal. She's still determined that he's going to be, you know, her knight in shining armor. And of course, because this is a movie, there's a misunderstanding and Betty feels betrayed by Bob. So she runs away, she puts her shield back up. Bob's trying to figure out what he did wrong. He doesn't know what he did wrong. Betty is just shut down. She wants nothing to do with him. She won't explain to him what happened. Because at the end of the day, it really is a misunderstanding, and if they had just sat down and communicated and talked about it, they probably could have worked it out, and it wasn't really that big a deal. But again, this is a movie. It's got to be more dramatic. So Betty runs off to a show as a solo act.
You didn't do right by me, as they say in the song. You done me wrong.
Bob even goes to find her, and they just can't seem to get it together. Of course, until the end, when everything gets resolved. So spoiler alert. But I think everybody knows the movies in this time period usually had a happy ending. This movie was really all about the singing, the dancing, the music, so the storyline wasn't a huge factor. But I did think there were some interesting moments in here that kind of showed a little bit of masculine and feminine dynamics, so I thought I would review it for the holidays. There's also another scene that's really interesting when Phil and Judy are kind of plotting how they're going to get Bob and Betty together. There's an interesting scene where Judy basically throws herself at Phil, and I think this is a classic scene. It's an exaggerated one, but it kind of shows how uncomfortable it is when a woman chases a man.
Where are you going to find such a Superman?
Don't be so modest.
Honey, fellas like that don't... Me?
Well, you're not exactly Superman, but you're awfully available.
Yeah, now, don't get any ideas, Judy. I'm not the marrying kind.
Oh, it's just an engagement.
Yeah, well, I'm not the engaging kind either.
Well, what kind are you?
Well, I'm more the I don't mind pushing my best friend into it, but I'm scared stiff when I get anywhere close to it myself-ing kind.
Oh, how terrible could it be for a few days? You do like me, don't you?
Sure I do.
I mean, I'm not exactly repulsive.
Of course not.
And you do find me gay, amusing, good company, fun to be with.
Sure, but I feel the same way about my Cocker Spaniel.
Oh, well, let's just skip it. I was only thinking of Betty and Bob.
Betty and Bob, yeah. Look, it'd only be temporary, huh?
Well, of course. Well, you don't think I'm the kind of girl that goes around throwing myself at a man, do you?
Of course not. Nobody thinks that.
Ladies, it's not a good idea. I'm just gonna say, because I always find this scene really uncomfortable to watch, and I feel like most women may not be doing this dramatically, but there's enough women out there who are chasing and throwing themselves at men that I hope maybe if you see the scene, you'll realize how uncomfortable it actually is. So yeah, ladies, don't throw yourselves at men, please. If you learn anything from this, it's ladies, don't throw yourselves at men, and be careful of who you put up on pedestals. You need to really get to know someone, get to know who they really are, and communication is so, so important. So this was just a quick little breakdown of the movie. Obviously, this movie was really more about the music, the singing, and the dancing. It's just a fun holiday movie. I love the glamour of it, so I just wanted to break down a few little scenes in this movie. I highly suggest you watch this movie after you watch this video, and just see if you can pick up on some of the things I mentioned in the video. If you have any other requests of movies you would like me to break down, movies, TV shows, anything like that, or any topics you'd like me to talk about when it comes to relationships or masculine and feminine energies, let me know. Leave a comment in the comment section below. I love to hear from you. I love your suggestions. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please give it a big thumbs up, and be sure you follow me on all my social media channels. I'm especially active on Instagram, and my TikTok has been doing really well. I've been posting a lot of these like little movie clips and stuff on TikTok, so be sure you follow me there. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you join me next time.